a perfect setting for the macabre journey we'll be taking. Something different tonight, you might be saying to yourself. Something sounds different, and you'd be right. I am broadcasting you tonight from inside the comfy confines of KXNT Radio in Las Vegas. If you heard our program last Sunday, we had a few technical problems pop up. Managed to get through the show, but, it was a convenient remote location where I can host the show. The folks at Premier have put up, but we still have not figured out what the snafu is. Maybe the NSA needs to put some new taps on the lines or something in there. But the folks here at KXNT were gracious enough to allow me into their studio tonight. My first time in this facility, but not my first time at this station, because back when I was first starting out hosting the program, this is where I did it from, KXNT, and Ray Regal, the techno wizard and engineer who helped guide an inexperienced me through the ropes back in those days, is here with me tonight to ward off evil spirits that sort of might gum up the work. So, Ray, thanks for taking time out of your Sunday to be here with us. Help us get through this program, get it on the air. Tonight, folks, prepare to have your minds blown, shattered into little tiny pieces scattered all over the cosmos. A little history before we jump into this. As you know, the mystery surrounding Bigfoot, Sasquatch, call them what you want, Harry and the Hendersons, whatever his name is, it's one of the staples of this program. We check in on research from time to time, get an update, see where it's going. And, of course, there's good and there's bad in the field, as with all paranormal topics. You look at the well-meaning but slightly goofy shows on TV, the guys in the camo gear all running around in the woods, the green glow of night vision lenses, they make Bigfoot noises and flinch every time there's something rustling in the bushes. Fun, sometimes entertaining, not all that enlightening. Certainly have not solved the Bigfoot mystery. Several years ago, as I was poking around looking for anything in that topic that, might be considered credible, I came across a book by David Paulides. It was thoughtful, logical, did not make unsupported leaps to conclusions, felt like it was written by a seasoned investigator, and it turned out that's what Dave was. It felt like what a cop would do, how a detective would approach the subject. It was also evidenced in a second book written by Dave. Just excellent work, credible research. I had him on my guest on the program a couple of times to talk about Bigfoot, and we kind of hit it off. And he let me know that if he came up with some interesting stuff, he'd give me the first crack at it. And sometime later, he took me into his confidence, and we talked about how his research into Bigfoot had led him into a very strange area. An even more perplexing mystery, and one that struck close to home for hundreds of families out there. Strange disappearances, mostly in national parks, national forests, rural areas, and the circumstances were remarkably similar. And I thought to myself, well, how weird's that? People get out in the woods, they get lost, disoriented, they die. Not so mysterious. Except the circumstances in so many of these cases were so similar, and there was nothing normal about them at all. Dave had been careful to weed out the cases that could be explained by normal means. These cases, these clusters of cases and disappearances were special, united by kind of a laundry list of odd coincidences and circumstances. So we did that first interview about his book, Missing 411. And as many of you know, that's grown into a series of books now, each one stranger and more disturbing than the next. And it was inevitable, I guess, that the rest of the world would catch on to what a great guest and meticulous researcher Dave is. So he's now done interviews all over the place and has cast a much wider net. And I think that exposure has helped him in getting new leads and new cases, helped in his research. He's been on this show not only with me, but also with George Noory, and he's has some other big projects on his plate now that we will discuss tonight. From the beginning, Dave and I exchange ideas about what might be going on here. We've met in person a few times and discussed this privately and off the record, and I told him, I kind of think this research is going to lead someday from rural disappearances to urban cases, which, if you think about it, would be harder to track and harder to separate. I mean, so many reasons a person in a city can disappear, and, nobody really thinks about it. Those of you who've heard the previous interview about missing 411 cases might think to yourselves, well, I'm going to stay out of national parks and forests. I don't want this, whatever it is, to snatch me or my kids or my loved ones. If you thought you'd be safe by staying out of those areas known as cluster spots where people vanish or are taken, then found later dead under unusual circumstances or never found at all, sorry to break the news, but Dave has now gathered enough evidence to suggest there's a similar pattern in urban areas. Cases that are investigated by police, written off by coroners, poorly investigated, poorly explained. Families in anguish because of all the unanswered questions. There aren't just a few of these. There are a lot of them. Probably cases very near to where you are listening right now. Dave, as I mentioned, has been a loyal friend to us here at Coast, and especially to me. He promised he'd give us first crack at new and interesting material, and tonight he makes good on that promise. The stuff you're about to hear is unsettling, disturbing, scary, but undeniably gripping. You can't look away when you hear some of these cases. And how was he able to whittle down the list, eliminate the non-anomalous cases? I think your reaction is going to be very much like mine. So here's the plan for tonight. Dave will be here all 4 hours. In this hour, we're going to do a little refresher for the benefit of those listeners not familiar with this material, kind of get the basic rules of the game. And as a refresher for those who may have heard only one interview or parts of a previous program, bring us up to date on Dave's efforts to get a response from government agencies that have jealously, ridiculously guarded what should be public information. That is the list of missing people. They supposedly work for us as public agencies, but they won't release